It was the happiest day of her life. Her Prince Charming had arrived, and today marked the official start of their lives together. Handsome, charismatic, with the promise of a bright future as a draftsman, he was a catch for sure. When she first met Alice, it wasn't love at first sight. Blind dates rarely are. It was more like love and spite. Some newly married couples get anxious over all the possibilities that lay before them. But not Betty. With her rocky childhood now behind her, she could finally turn her attention towards something safer, more predictable, like making a home for a small family. Alice's family owned a small sweater manufacturer in Finland, and while it was a humble operation, it had been assumed that Alice and his sister Esther would one day become heirs to the small fortune. It wouldn't make anyone a millionaire, mind you, but it would be enough so they could stop renting, fall in love, get married, have babies, and live, well, you know the rest. But those were her plans for the future. My father had different ideas. The day after their wedding, a package arrived from Finland. It was from Kalo, Alice's father. A gift for the newlyweds, a metaphor for what now seems like the inevitable. A faux brass horse and clock connected by rope chains, presumably acting as a horse lead. If the horse had anywhere to go, that is. So there it sat, as if waiting for time itself to move, but unlike the clock, the horse cannot move. Frozen in time. Perhaps frozen by some god at the exact moment when the horse was to walk in front of the clock, pulling it along to the clip-clap of his hooves. Instead, this horse faces the clock, chained to time itself, perhaps waiting for it to move. But time does not move. Not in this way. Even back then, she had a bit of a problem throwing things out. She was by no means a hoarder because our place was sparsely decorated, but certain oddities caught her attention and instantly became enshrined in our apartment-sized museum of unusual and mostly useless items. It must have come from living through the Depression when you have to keep everything, because you just never know. She displayed everything we had eventually. Even unpaid bills would be propped up on the stereo like bric-a-brac that would get dusted just like everything else. Eventually. But these things in our house made us appear normal to the outside world. And as I was soon to discover, many of these things didn't quite add up. I think we could all feel that something wasn't quite right, like our brass horse clock that sat atop of our broken stereo. Nothing in our place actually worked, except that clock. It was kept plugged into the wall always, with a fresh set of batteries in case the power ever went out. Why this clock meant so much to my mom I'll never understand, but what I do know is that clock really bothered me. I didn't have language for it then, but I did have a wide collection of stuffed barnyard animals and a Fisher-Price barn set, so I knew a thing or two about animals. For one, they're not made of brass. 2, horses pull things, but this horse is being pulled by the clock, or blocked. Facing backwards into time as if the clock were in control. I mean, it seems like it was. The clock was the only thing that could move, its soul plugged directly into the wall. Every day that clock marched our lives forward, but that horse just sat there like my father, brooding over time, waiting for his chance to move forward. And just like our lives, the clock ticked away year after year as the bills around it piled up, obscuring the clock completely until the only reference to time in our home was the tick-tick-ticking of the bills.